start sharing the class, but I'm not sure whether I'm audible or. So, am I audible to you? Can somebody react? Hello? Hello? Thank you for telling that I am audible. I am trying to share my uh, PPT. Hello? Are my slides visible? Hello? Hello? I need somebody to unmute and let me know.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Slides are visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Now is it visible?
Yes.
Are the slides visible?
Ma'am.
Okay, I'll put it in a slideshow mode and then let's see. As it is it visible now?
Ha.
Now?
Ha.
Okay, thank you so much for that input. Now today we are looking at burn and non-burn technology, what we have in disposal of biomedical waste management. Now let me understand. Has segregation been taught to you? Can somebody tell me what are the technologies that are available for treatment and disposal of biomedical waste? Hello? I need response from your side or else I won't be able to understand whether you're listening or not. Is somebody there?
Ha, ma'am.
I can hear only one voice. What about the others? Could somebody tell me what are the treatment and disposal mechanisms under the biomedical waste management rules of 2016 that have been stated?
Incineration, ma'am.
Okay, then.
Disinfection,
Okay,
sterilization,
okay.
ETO.
Excuse me. Can you repeat?
ETO. ETO.
What does that mean?
ethylene trioxide,
Okay, then. Okay, final treatment and disposal methods. What all do we have? We have incineration. Yes.
Composting.
Okay, composting. Very rarely we do it. Then we have autoclave, isn't it? Yes or no? Hello. So, what is it that we aim by looking at these technologies? Basically, the aim of final treatment and disposal is to reduce the potential hazard posed by this biomedical waste. While looking at it, we'll also need to see that we protect the environment. Also, it is just not treating this waste and reducing the potential hazards that are posed by this. Right? Now, can somebody tell me what are the different segregation practices that we have in biomedical waste? What are the different colors and what kind of waste?
Red, blue, white, yellow.
No, I need to know what are the different kinds of waste that are different segregation practices.
Ma'am, there are four color beans: yellow,
Yes.
blue, red,
Yes.
and white.
Ah,
Uh, White container contains needles, syringes, etc. In
okay.
blue,
Syringes does
uh,
not go into white.
needles.
Needles, predominantly needles.
Yes,
Then,
ma'am.
ah,
Blue color, scalpels, blades, broken glasses, etc.
okay.
Uh,
Scalpel holder might go into blue, but scalpels will go into white because it is sharp.
Sharp. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Uh, Red color containing plastic,
Ah,
etc. Then yellow
ah.
contain infectious cotton, uh, body
Anatomical
cotton,
waste.
etc.
Yes, anatomical waste.
Yes,
Okay. Can anybody
etc.
tell me what will happen to this yellow color waste once it leaves the hospital?
Yes, ma'am. That
Huh?
contact with the patient.
Huh?
If any,
Once this yellow color waste leaves the hospital, where does it go and what happens to it in the common treatment facility?
Infection. Nosocomial infection.
No, no, no. It's not nosocomial infection. The
ma'am, bloodstream infections.
yes. Can somebody tell me? Do you have any idea what happens to the waste once it reaches the common treatment facility? Somebody said incineration. What happens in incineration?
Ma'am, it is high temperature dry oxidation process.
Okay.
Inorganic and organic wastes combustion.
Okay.
That means reduction of volume and the weight of the waste.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and This process mainly used for cannot be recycled, reused, or
Mm.
disposal materials.
Yes. That means whatever you put in the yellow bin cannot be recycled. So
Yes,
it
ma'am.
goes directly into an incinerator. Now, what does an incinerator do? Basically, burn,
Uh,
right?
High temperature
It burns. It's
oxidation.
an oxidation system where it burns. Now, if you look at our treatment system,
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, you have heard about burn technology and non-burn technology, right? Have you heard or not? Yes.
Ma'am, classes may be cut.
What?
Not class may be not clear.
Class is not here. Now are you able to hear me? I had a problem with um, the
Net
connection.
issue. Yes, ma'am.
Now you are able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now my point is what happens to this? There are two kinds of technology. One, we can burn everything.
Yes.
If you look at the common treatment facility, has anybody visited the common treatment facility? Yes. Has anybody visited any common treatment facility for
No,
biomedical waste management?
no, ma'am.
No. So
No, ma'am.
anybody in the class was visited?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, there are two kinds of things that
No,
you see.
ma'am.
One is a, have you visited Jyotsna? No. Okay. See, whenever you go to a common treatment facility, there are two kinds of things that you can see. One, where there is burning that happens. Two, where there is no burning that happens. So there are two different kinds of technologies which you can treat the biomedical waste. One is by burning, two is by non-burn technology. If you look at burn technology, what are all the burn technologies that we have? Can I just use a matchstick and burn the biomedical waste that is produced? Does should I speak in a different language? Is everybody able to understand English, or is there any other language that I need to speak?
Ma'am, English.
Huh?
English.
Okay.
In the English,
In
both
huh? Can you please
mix,
repeat?
madam. Mix,
Mix.
madam.
हिंदी
In the English, mix, madam.
हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों मिक्स करके बात करना है, ठीक है? जितना होता है उतना बात करती हूँ मैं। अच्छा,
Okay.
बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट को जला सकते हैं क्या हम? ऐसे ही कुछ एक माचिस लेके बाहर जैसे हम
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
जलाते हैं ना, ऐसा जला सकते हैं क्या?
Ma'am,
No, ma'am.
No, you can't do it. Why I can't do it?
Because it's infectious for the environment and for human beings also.
And also to human health. So that's why burning is basically not allowed for biomedical waste. In the process of biomedical waste management treatment, burning is something which they don't do it. But then, if you look at the common treatment facility, you have these incinerators, which we call it as burn technology. Here we are burning, but there is a difference between these two. The temperatures what will go into an incinerators are very high. There are two chambers for it. One is the primary chamber, the second one is the secondary chamber. There are two chambers which are there. Initially in the primary chamber, the whatever waste, that is the yellow bag, whatever जो भी पीला बैग में रहता है ना, वो सब पहले प्राइमरी चेंबर में जलता है. उसके बाद जलने के बाद जो भी गैसेस आते हैं वो सेकेंडरी चेंबर में
Excuse me,
गैसेस भी
ma'am.
जलाकर आखिर में हो जाता है सिर्फ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और वाटर is what will be remaining after incineration process. Right, this is what happens in an incinerator, but it happens in a controlled environment. It is not similar to what is burning outside. जो भी हम जलाते हैं ना, वो और इंसिनरेशन दोनों में फर्क है, दोनों एक ही नहीं है. ठीक है, कभी देखा आपने इंसिनरेटर?
Ma'am,
हाँ बताइए मैम.
ma'am, I'm from Kerala. I can't understand Hindi.
I'm talking in both English as well as in Hindi. Okay. Have
Okay.
you ever seen an incinerator? Has anybody seen an incinerator? Yes, Poonam, you have something to ask. You have raised your hand. And also Jyotsna, is there anything I can clear your
No,
doubt?
I've not seen.
What? You have not
I've
seen.
not seen an incinerator.
You have seen an incinerator. Okay.
No, ma'am.
No, you have not seen. Fine.
Yes,
I'll try and see if I can share a video, because I'll see if I can share a video so that you'll be able to, you know, final treatment. There are three videos. First one is the introductory video. Wait, let me see if I can share it. Is this being shared?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
There is no uh, there is no voice to this. Just look at this. This is the what is it? Van that brings the waste from the common treatment from the different hospitals. This is the incinerator. This is the chimney. What you see, what you're looking now is the autoclave, and this is the shredder. Okay, and this is for shops where encapsulation happens. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
These are the different types of things that we generally have uh, for treatment of waste. Okay.
Ma'am, what is shredder, ma'am?
Shredder means that will break the waste into small pieces. All right, I'll show
Okay, ma'am.
you final treatment of bags. How
अच्छा हाँ राइट बोल रहे हो. 。
Uh, my network is gone, so it'll take some time for me to do it. I'm just trying. Okay, I'll just show you a video. What happens to each of those
नहीं दीदी मैंने नहीं देखा
bags
मैं
that are
देख
there? What happens to that yellow bag? What happens to the red bag? And what happens to the blue bag, the shredder? All these things are there. It's a small video. Now, what we understand here is okay, hopefully, I get it. These yellow bags, once they are removed, sorry, what we need to understand, did you all hear something? Did you hear anything?
Yes,
No,
ma'am. Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes?
No, ma'am.
No. At least you saw the video, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you didn't hear my
Yes.
commentary, probably. I'm sorry, I didn't know that I was muted. Okay. Now, um, what basically happens is you saw two different mechanisms. One is the burning, the other is the non-burning. Apart from an incinerator, we also have something called as plasma pyrolysis, which is used for incinerating this waste. The difference here is what happens is there is something called as a state, plasma state, and you find electrical energy is converted into heat energy, with which most of the waste is burned. Basically, it breaks down into only gases like as such. So, okay, as such. So, therefore, but before these are present, there are certain particulate matter, small particle matter. See, when you're burning charcoal or firewood, what happens? Don't you get small pieces that are there? Similarly, when we burn these things, there are certain small pieces that do come. And these particulate matter, when they are carried along with the gases. So they use water and other mechanisms to bring down this particulate matter. That is where there is an effluent which comes out of it. This effluent is basically treated in an effluent treatment plant. What comes out of the chimney after undergoing the anti-pollution conversion would be basically innocuous. There is nothing hazardous in that. It is only carbon dioxide and some water vapor is what it comes out. This can happen only if the incinerator works optimum and the kind of waste you put in. You cannot put any hazardous material, any chemicals cannot be put, any pressurized canisters, that is your air inhalers are there, no? That kind of pressurized canisters, all these things should not be put into the incinerator. If you put, what will happen? It will reduce the efficiency of an incinerator. Most of the time, any chlorine containing materials are also not incinerated. The reason is chlorine forms a product when it is combustion at certain temperature, it forms something called as dioxins and furans. Now, what are these dioxins and furans? They are nothing but persistent organic pollutants. No, so what if these dioxins and furans are produced? Anyhow, most of my waste is being burned, and all is left over is nothing but ash. Nothing else is there, which is very minimal. If I put 1 ton of waste, I may just get roughly around 250 kgs of very small amount of ash that is generated. So that's very advantageous to me, where I had such a huge waste, now it is reduced to a very small quantity where I can manage it very nicely. So, but the disadvantage is that I need trained personnel. They should know how to manage the incinerator. I the another major disadvantage is if I do not maintain the incinerator properly, the efficiency of the incinerator will become low. Another disadvantage I have is I should get properly segregated waste from the hospital. The yellow color waste should not be mixed up with anything which I can't burn. There should not be any hazardous chemicals there. Anything of that sort should not be there. Any heavy metals should not be there. All these things should be taken care of. So, is that possible for us to have 100% segregation at the hospital level? Yes. Anybody who can react?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
100%. सब बच्चा कोई गलती नहीं करेगा सेग्रीगेशन में,
No, ma'am.
नहीं हो सकता है ना. तो इसलिए वी हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल. जो भी येलो में जाता है, यू हैव टू थिंक दैट वॉट एवर गोज इन टू येलो इज गोइंग इन फॉर burning. So you should not put something which can be recycled or uh, or which should not be burnt. सिर्फ ये ध्यान में रखना चाहिए, येलो में ऐसा कुछ नहीं जाना चाहिए, ठीक है? सो but what are the advantages of this incinerator? One thing, I have huge amount of waste, but once I burn it or once I incinerate it, there's no open burning is not allowed. I will call it as incineration. Once I incinerate it, the amount of waste will reduce to a great extent. I'll have very small quantity of waste. This waste I can send it to a landfill. Because it is hazardous, there might be certain chemicals that are there. There might be some what you call some heavy metals or anything of that sort. So I need to very carefully handle the ash that comes out of an incinerator. Okay, so the efficiency of the incinerator depends on a good segregation as well as the kind of waste you give. What kind of waste do you think we can burn? Can I burn every kind of waste? Yes or no? सब कुछ जला सकते हैं क्या?
No, ma'am, no.
नहीं. कौन सा वेस्ट जला सकते हैं हम?
General waste.
जनरल वेस्ट. यहाँ पर बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट की बात चल रही है, जनरल वेस्ट नहीं है. Organic, I won't call this, but there should be some, it should be heat efficient, thermogenic, it should be generating heat. Whatever heat that generates from this incinerator can also be utilized for some other purposes like heating up of water or energy. This energy, heat energy, can be converted into some other energy. This is what is an advantage of using an incinerator. But the major
Please,
disadvantage, yes, no.
please repeat, madam.
See, the advantage is heat is generated here.
Okay, ma'am.
ओके, वॉट एवर हीट इज जनरेटेड, जो भी हीट को हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं, गर्मी, गरम, जो भी गर्मी, हीट विच इज जनरेटेड, दिस हीट एनर्जी कैन बी कन्वर्टेड और कैन बी यूटिलाइज्ड टू डू समथिंग एल्स. Some energy can be extracted out of this incinerator. That is the advantage. You have tons and tons of waste that goes in, but finally incinerator which is fitted with a pollution control device. देख देख सकते हैं, ऐसा डब्बा जैसा रहता है, वहां पर डाल के बर्न करना है. द मोस्ट इनएफिशिएंट मेथड ऑफ मैनेजिंग बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट इज यूजिंग ए सिंगल चेम्बर्ड इंसिनरेटर. यहाँ पर सिर्फ बर्न होता है, वो भी ठीक से नहीं होता, उतना टेम्परेचर भी नहीं आता है. दैट मीन्स इट ओनली जस्ट बर्न्स, इट डजंट रीच द अप्रोप्रिएट टेम्परेचर. सो इन अ वे व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर इज you are polluting the air by releasing hazardous chemicals into the air. Two, whatever ash is left over is also not completely safe enough. If this ash also can lead to formation of, if there is rain or anything, leachate formation that can happen. You are polluting the soil, you are polluting the air. Thereby what is happening, human health is also getting affected, right? So don't ever encourage any single chambered incinerator. Now sometimes you will get some people who will come and say, that there is a small incinerator that is there, like a tabletop. Whatever waste you have, just put into this so that it takes care of this waste, it just burns and then release. Please don't encourage any such kind of single chambered incinerators. And one more thing, as per the rule, incinerators cannot be installed everywhere and anywhere. Mostly only the common treatment facility person is the one who is allowed to use an incinerator. Okay, now when you look at the burn tech, things we have. We have autoclaves, we have high. Sorry, I lost my connection on the other network. Are you able to hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, continue. Okay, there is something called as dry heat and there's something else called as wet heat. Uh, Now, I showed you the picture of a autoclave, na? Did you all see that? You saw the picture of
No,
an
no,
autoclave.
ma'am. Not say.
Yeah. In the in the film just I showed you the picture of an autoclave, na?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see the picture then. It is something where he was turning around. Blue color का था उसने रेड और ब्लू बैग्स उसमें डाले थे. Hello.
Seen,
Do you
ma'am.
use? Yes, right. How does it work? What do they do with an autoclave? Okay, how does a pressure cooker work? Household pressure cooker.
High pressure steam, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, steam is there. You have water vapor, that is steam, and temperature and pressure are the ones which need to be maintained in an autoclave. What do we generally use this autoclave for in hospitals? For
Sterilization,
station.
ma'am.
Yes.
Sterile trays. For sterilization of trays, instruments.
Overall equipments, ma'am.
Yes. Can you hear me? Mega, you said something. Can you tell me what it is?
Autoclave is used for sterilization of instruments like trays.
Hmm. There's so many things which we use autoclave for, right? Basically for sterilization we use, but now I'm talking about waste can also be disinfected. We won't call it as sterilization here because we are not trying to kill all the microorganisms in waste. We are only trying to kill the harmful pathogens which are there in the waste for us with the help of an autoclave. The same way here, what happens is in an autoclave there is steam that is generated under pressure and there is a temperature that is there. So this steam, the temperature that comes up to, there are different types of autoclaves. Based on the type of autoclave, it may range to 121 degrees centigrade to 135 and around 135 to 140, 149 degrees centigrade is what they look at. The, there is high temperature and under pressure is also, it is maintained for 15 minutes or 30-minute cycles. So what will happen when we do this? Most of the pathogenic organisms that are there inside this waste gets destroyed. Right? What all waste can go through this autoclave? Most of the infectious waste I can use, right? Any waste that is infectious. Whatever that is there in the red bin, can I autoclave it? Can I autoclave whatever that is
It is
there in
being
the red
shredded.
bin? No, first it is autoclaved and
Isn't
then
it being
shredded because
shredded?
we are not sure of.
Okay, ma'am.
Excuse me, Mega, tell me please.
No, ma'am,
You
I'm
will
not saying
autoclave
anything. I'm
and
just
then shred
listening
it.
to
You
you.
will not. Okay, you
Okay,
will
ma'am.
not shred and then autoclave. You can do that in certain places, but usually it is autoclave. And pressure, most of the pathogens are killed. And only then that whatever innocuous material is there, that is sent for shredding. Once the autoclave is over, the material will shrink and it may be innocuous. I mean, you will not be able to, not much of infectious things can be, it is rendered non-infectious basically. So that is what an autoclave basically does. Here we are using steam. There is another mechanism which is called as hydroclave. Has anybody seen a hydroclave? The mechanism is very simple, very efficient when you look at it. The same steam is utilized to heat, but the difference here is there are two barrels, the inside one and the outside one. Basically, inside the drum, what we call it as, it has blades in it. It rotates so that waste is put inside this inner drum, and outside there is circulation of steam that happens. Once there is circulation of steam that is happening in the outer area, whatever inside the waste is there, that also gets heated up. And because there are rotatory blades that are there inside the drum, the waste that is inside this drum will also get shredded into small pieces, and at the same time it is rendered non-infectious because of the heat that is generated due to the steam that is.
Ma'am, we couldn't hear your voice, ma'am.
Therefore, you have
Yes, ma'am.
Therefore, you have both the steam as well as temperature and these blades, the shredded ones. There is a reduction in the volume of the waste that is generated after hydroclaving, and at the same time, it is rendered innocuous. After this, the waste can be sent to a landfill, or it can be disposed of appropriately. Okay, so this is what a hydroclave does. Where here, are we burning anything? We are not burning anything. What are we doing here? We are only making it non-infectious, and we are reducing the volume of the waste because of the heat that is generated there. Heat is generated through steam. So both autoclave and hydroclave work on a very similar principle. Am I clear here? Hello. Am I clear? Am I clear here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the next option, what do we have? The next option, what we have here is autoclaving is over, hydroclaving is over. Okay, there are certain microwave is another one that we generally use as a non-burn technology. Have you ever used microwave at home? Anybody who has used microwave at home? Come on, don't we use microwaves?
मैडम
No.
रिलेटेड पीपीटी शेयर हो सकता है क्या?
क्या है?
आप जो पीपीटी मैडम हम लोगों को दिख नहीं रहा, वो शेयर हो सकता है क्या?
पीपीटी मैंने दिखाई, आई मीन आई एम नॉट शेयरिंग द पीपीटी. मतलब
ओके मैम.
I'm not
ओके.
using the PPT to handle this session.
ओके मैम.
You want the PPT, I'll send it, but the information is very minimal there.
ओके.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
thank
have you ever seen a microwave? Microwave अपने अपने घर में रहता है ना? Everybody uses a microwave for many things, isn't it? Yes or no?
you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Uh, How does it work? खाना तो जल्दी पक जाता है माइक्रोवेव में. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. कैसे पकता है उतना जल्दी? Here heating is done. The microwaves, whatever is generated, will basically make the molecules which are inside that particular material to move around, and that's where the heat is generated. Once the heat is generated, the whole thing gets heated up very quickly because the heating happens at the molecular level. That's why when you try to cook something in a microwave, it cooks very quickly when compared to what you do at your the usual gas stove. Similarly, whatever waste that can be microwaved is kept inside because of the microwaves that are generated and because of the heat that is generated within there. It it becomes non-infectious. There might not be a significant reduction in the volume of the waste. This is what you need to understand when you're doing microwave. Can I put everything and anything inside a microwave, autoclave, or a hydroclave? I can't. There are certain ways that I cannot put inside a microwave. Especially, I cannot use metals that are there. I may not be, but the kind of microwaves that are used where metals can also be safe are slightly different. I don't use metals when I'm doing it. I don't put a steel vessel inside a microwave, do we? When we do it at home? Know whether it is effective or not. Hydroclave, microwave, and autoclave. You can use indicators for it. There are indicators which show whether the disinfection has happened or not. So these are spores or it could be bacteriological indicators which change the color once the disinfection or sterilization is over. So these are certain things which can be utilized for us to see whether the sterilization or the disinfection has been appropriate or not. Okay, are we clear here? The advantage of using a microwave, are there any volatile gases that are released? Sometimes they might the only disadvantage is it may not be very efficient if the waste is very bulky. So for that there are some microwaves which have an inbuilt mechanism, that's a closed mechanism where they are broken down into pieces and then sent for microwaving. But this is completely a closed process, it is not kept open. um, there's no way that any a person can come in contact with this kind of waste, so it happens completely inside the machine. It can be efficient in terms of disinfecting the render it non-infectious, but the volume I can use this sometimes to
Ma'am, we couldn't hear your voice properly.
I know I have been. My network connection is lost. I don't know why. Now, the advantages of this both hydroclave and autoclave is that you have emissions are minimal. You can change it. The waste volume is reduced almost to 80%. But the only disadvantage is I cannot use it for toxic contaminants may be released. There might be slight odor that is also there, and I can't treat all kinds of waste in hydroclave or an autoclave. Okay, so that is the disadvantage I have with hydroclave and autoclave. Especially when it comes to human anatomical waste, I cannot use it. I cannot use it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Human anatomical waste, I cannot use an autoclave or an hydroclave. It is like, I don't know. It's not aesthetically correct, nor is it acceptable to all of us to use this hydroclave or microwave or an autoclave, especially for anatomical waste. Do I have any occupational exposure? What are my maintenance costs for this? It is minimal. Every hospital has an autoclave for sterilization. They can use another autoclave for managing of waste. By BMW rules of 2016 that there is some amount of waste that needs to be pre-treated before sending it to the common treatment facility. What sort of waste that can be pre-treated is most of these vacuum tinners, laboratory waste, your stocks, your culture plates, and all these things need to be disinfected before sending it to the common treatment facility. For that disinfection, you can always use the blood. uh, you know uh, Mechanisms here. Who is slightly educated for them to do this autoclaving. So when it comes to in terms of low maintenance, environmentally friendly, you're not releasing any hazardous chemicals here. Occupationally also it's protected. In terms of waste management, it reduces the volume. It renders the waste innocuous, that is it is not non-infectious. Clear? So this is the advantage of autoclave, hydroclave. For microwaving, probably you require some amount of work. It may not be as efficient as hydroclave or um, autoclave for that matter. Next, there's something called as dry heat. Now, have you heard about dry heat? This is sometimes used in microbiological lab to sterilize certain things. The same kind of things can be utilized for the waste disinfection of waste also. What happens is that you're treating the material chemically, oxidating it. As a result, if at all there is any infectious agent that is there, that is taken care of. I cannot use chemical treatment for all the methods, all the kind of waste that is generated, especially pharmaceutical waste or biochemical waste. I may not be able to use. Chemical methods are very much suited for liquid waste that is generated in the hospital. I can use chemical method for disinfection of blood, not blood, the body fluids or the remnants of in a diagnostic lab. I can use this. Okay. Now, what is the problem here if I can use a chemical waste? The kinds of chemicals that are used are, one is ozone, there's something called as alkaline hydrolysis which is done. Whatever we do it, chemical waste has a problem of occupational hazard, accidental exposure, or accidental spills of these chemical waste that can happen. And how do I store this chemical waste? That is another important thing that we need to take care. And you also require people who know how to handle this only to use this, right? You should also have an ETP for you to handle the liquid waste that is generated after using a chemical disinfective agent. All right, so these are the advantages and disadvantages. They may not be a great effect on volume of the waste that is generated. The volume kind of remains the same. Okay, there are some kind of equipment called as demolizers, which are very small in nature. For a small healthcare facility, maybe it is utilized where it just burns most of the needles and other things that are there, and then and that can be every treatment disposal or every mechanism has got advantages and disadvantages to it. There are some kind of waste uh, which cannot be treated using non-burn technology. Say, for example, pharmaceutical waste, cytotoxic waste, radioactive waste. Radioactive waste has got a completely different method of treatment. None of these things might be applicable for radioactive waste. So, and in burn technology, there is one more thing which I forgot to mention. It is called as rotary kiln. This is this rotary kilns are the ones which are generally used in manufacturing of cement. They generate heat at a very high. The waste is burned at a very high temperature. As a result, it works on the same principle as incinerator, oxidative process, where heat, because of the heat and burning that happens, the waste is reduced to basically gases. These gases are also burnt and then reduced to basically their constituents in terms of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. But rotary kiln is very high in maintenance. That means it requires a lot of money for establishing it, and it is not very energy efficient because the energy that is generated from this of heating this may not cannot be utilized for anything else. So therefore, rotary kiln is a last option. Incinerators are most commonly used in most of the places. Most of the common treatment facility has a incinerator, which is predominantly a burn technology which we are using. So if I sum it up, under the burn technologies, we have incinerators, you have plasma pyrolysis, rotary kilns. In incinerators, you have double chambered incinerators or single chambered incinerators. I would suggest please forget about single chambered incinerators. Most of them are better. The rule says about you have to use only a double chambered incinerator. Under non-burn technologies, you have chemical disinfection, you have autoclaves, you have hydroclaves, then you have microwave. So these are the mechanisms of non-burn, the mechanisms by which, without using non advantages, it releases pollutants which, if it is not done properly, it releases dioxins and furans. The disadvantages of dioxins and furans is they are persistent organic pollutants. They remain in the air for a longer duration, and they cause lot of health problems. This includes it changes the endocrine system. People can become infertile. It is carcinogenic. So these are the disadvantages of dioxins and furans which are released whenever you use an incinerator, right? Rotary kiln is heavy on maintenance. Most of the incinerators are heavy on maintenance. maintenance needs to be done. There is a lot of fuel that is required for us to burn this material that we are putting in. So these are the disadvantages for us to use an incinerator, and it has to be pre-treated, properly done, only then it is efficient. That means your segregation practices also should be very good for you to use an incinerator. But when you look at non-burn technologies, we have autoclaves, we have microwave, hydroclave, and chemical disinfection. Hydroclave, autoclave, and microwave. The advantages is that there is not the maintenance is low, installation is also on a low. It is not very costly. You don't need extra highly efficient or highly trained personnel to handle it. You can train people to handle it. The only disadvantage is there may not be a great reduction in the volume of waste when compared to an incinerator. But when you look at a hydroclave, the volume of waste reduction will be very good. That means it reduces to a large extent. The waste is converted into an innocuous one. It is non-infectious, but however, you need to know to dispose of where to dispose of this waste. Once it has to be sent to a landfill. I cannot use a hydroclave and an autoclave to treat either cytotoxic waste or pharmaceutical waste or any other waste that have heavy metal. So easily, but it may not be very efficient. So therefore, if there is no reduction in the volume of the waste, it might render it disinfectious, but if there is no volume of waste is not reduced. So I need to know all kinds of waste. I cannot use chemical disinfectant. So again, for certain kind of waste, I need to send to some other places. So this is the advantages and disadvantages of burn and non-burn technologies in a nutshell. Okay, anybody has any questions to ask me? Would you like to have, would you like to ask any questions? Yes, anybody with any questions? किसी को कुछ पूछना है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आया? Is anybody wants to ask me any question, or shall I call it a day? Yes? Are you all there? Are you there? Do you have any doubts to ask me, or can I call it a day?
No doubt, ma'am.
No doubts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can I log out?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.